Hello chess fans, today I will show you a fantastic opening trick by the world chess champion of the USA, Bobby Fischer. And this was a game between Fischer and Reshevsky, two of the strongest players of America, and it was played in the US Championships. The opening was a Sicilian, as you can see, and it's called with this g6 and bishop g7 an accelerated dragon, and this opening trick is very useful to know. It may happen in your own games, so pay attention. This bishop c4 is one of the secret weapons of Fischer. He liked this bishop in the Sicilian, and after castling and bishop b3, Reshevsky followed with knight a5, and this was already not so good. Understandable move. He wants to exchange this strong bishop on the diagonal of this light squares, and now Fischer strikes in a first step with his e-pawn. He plays e5, and now we can see if the knight takes the bishop, this pawn takes the knight and attacks again a piece, and will attack again the next piece. This pawn eats the pieces of the enemy, and if we calculate, let's look at this variation till the end. Let's say this knight takes the rook in the corner and the pawn takes. He has to take now the pawn because, as mentioned, the pawn wants to eat more, and we can see White has an advantage. He has two minor pieces against the rook, and black is weakened also on the black squares. This is a big advantage for white, but Reshevsky saw it. He was a strong grandmaster, of course, and after e5 he didn't want to move his knight to the rim because this knight would be trapped by g4, a pawn move you can overlook, but he saw it and moved his knight back. Doesn't look pretty, but at least in the next move he can take this bishop, he thought. Okay, but now followed a huge blow. He sacrificed this bishop in a very effective way. He played now the huge hit against the king. Bishop takes f7, and there was a motive which occurs in all variations. Can you see it? It doesn't matter how black reacts, it's always the same motive. Let's look first at rook takes f7. Now follows the surprising queen trap, knight to e6, and you can see this knight takes a square away from the queen. This square is not available because of this bishop. This square is not available because of the knight, and the queen is boxed in between her own pieces on the back rank. And if the pawn would take, of course you can see it, this would hang the queen, and this is a super winning position for Fischer. Let's look at another variation. Can he move the king in the corner and ignore the bishop? We have the same motif, knight e6, and the queen is lost anyway. If the pawn takes, the queen hangs, and the queen has no escape squares, as you can see. Okay, in the game, that's why after bishop takes f7 check, Reshevsky took with the king. But here he comes the next step of this combination. Also very, very impressive move. Can you see it? It is again the knight, who is in action. Knight e6. Again, the pawn can't take. Really here, he would lose the queen. So black has to take with the king, you think? Let's look at this variation. If the king would take, here comes the check with the queen. King f5 only move. And now, according to the computer, many moves would win. But the most human move would be the opening of lines. And now, if the king takes, the rook comes with check on the g file into play. And if the king goes to f5, it would be a checkmate with rook g5 immediately. So the king had to go to the h file. And after this check, he only can prolong the checkmate. And if he goes here, it would be checkmate on g4. And if he goes to h3, let's say down, then we have the next checkmate with the queen, and this is the end of the king. It's funny, it's in the camp of white. It's a long king march, and the white pieces dragged the poor black king down the board here. In the game, after knight to e6, Reshevsky didn't take Fischer's knight here. He maybe saw now, maybe until now he suspected nothing bad, but now he could calculate the disaster, and he decided to play pawn takes knight. Of course, Fischer took his queen, but now it was a disaster. Now Fischer had a queen for two. Let's count 2 minor pieces. Yes, black has 4 minor pieces and white 2, and every side has 2 rooks. 2 minor pieces for the queen. This is not enough, but Reshevsky, maybe because of frustration or because he didn't want to lose against the 15-year-old Fischer, who was already a grandmaster, but he was very young, and he played on and on and on. But of course, Fischer won at the end. They played a long game. He could as well resign here, but he didn't resign. He played on, but it was of course a lost game anyway. So Fischer won in, let's say, 10 moves really. After bishop takes f7, it was super winning, and Reshevsky dragged the game. It was the US Championship, high stakes, and maybe both weren't the best friends, but they were the strongest players of the USA at this time in the 50s. And this game was really a treat. Let's look again at this bishop move. This position may happen in your own games. Try to memorize such motifs. Bishop takes f7, and in all variation it's won, because this helpful knight wins the game, and the black queen has no chance against this construction. This was the secret weapon of Fischer. This light squared bishop is often called a Fischer bishop, also in endgames. And I hope you liked this combination in this game, Fischer versus Reshevsky. And if you want, we see us in the next video. Until then, bye bye.